How did someone fail miserably at trying to outsmart you? My neighbor thought he could scam me out of $800 with the oldest trick in the book, but he picked the wrong guy to mess with. It started on a Tuesday morning when Mark knocked on my door looking distressed. We'd barely spoken in the 3 years I'd lived here, so I was surprised to see him. "Hey, I hate to bother you," he said, holding a manila folder, "but we have a problem. That big oak tree in your backyard? It fell during last week's storm and seriously damaged my Tesla." He opened the folder and showed me photos of his car with a massive dent on the hood and scratches down the side. Then came a repair estimate from Downtown Auto Body for $847. "Insurance says since it's your tree, you're liable," Mark explained, shaking his head sympathetically. "I really don't want to make this a big legal thing between neighbors, you know? Here's what Mark didn't know. I'm a certified arborist and own a tree removal company. That damaged spot on his car, I could tell immediately it was fresh black spray paint over existing scratches and an old dent. The paint wasn't even the right shade, but the real kicker, the oak tree he claimed fell was still standing perfectly upright in my backyard, completely untouched. I decided to have some fun with this." "Oh my God, Mark, I'm so sorry," I said, putting on my best concerned neighbor act. "I had no idea. The insurance company is going to want to see everything. Let me get them involved right away." Mark's face twitched slightly. "Actually, you know what? Cash would be so much easier. Less paperwork, faster resolution. We could handle this between neighbors." Red flag number 2, but I kept playing along. "Of course, whatever works best, but I'll definitely need to document everything properly for my records. Hope you don't mind if I take some detailed photos?" Sure, Mark said, though he looked increasingly uncomfortable. As I walked around his Tesla with my phone, taking pictures from every angle, I noticed something that made me bite back a laugh. The repair estimate he'd shown me was dated for the previous Tuesday, 3 full days before the storm had even hit our area. I also noticed his car was parked in the exact same spot it had been for weeks, nowhere near my oak tree. If a tree that size had actually fallen, there would be broken branches, disturbed ground, something, but my yard looked pristine. "Hey, Mark," I said casually, still holding up the estimate, "I'm a little confused about something. This repair quote is dated last Tuesday, but the storm didn't hit until Friday night." The color drained from his face instantly. "Oh, that's just when I got the initial assessment quote, you know, for insurance purposes." "Initial assessment for damage that hadn't happened yet?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. Mark started stammering. I was planning to get it looked at anyway, and then when the tree fell, I pulled out my phone and opened my security camera app. "Want to see something interesting? I've got footage of my backyard from the entire storm." Mark went completely silent as I showed him the video. Clear as day, you could see my oak tree standing firm through the whole storm. No falling, no damage, nothing. His Tesla wasn't even visible in the frame because it was parked too far away. "The tree never fell, Mark. And looking at this footage, your car had those exact same scratches and that dent 3 weeks ago. I can see them in the older recordings." Mark's mouth opened and closed like a fish. There must be some mistake." "The only mistake," I said, "was thinking you could scam someone who removes trees for a living. I know what storm damage looks like, and I definitely know when a tree hasn't fallen." Mark grabbed his folder and started backing toward his house. "Look, maybe I was confused about which tree. There's no confusion here. You tried to defraud me with fake damage and a predated estimate. That's insurance fraud, Mark." He practically ran back to his house without another word. But the story doesn't end there. 2 days later, I'm trimming hedges in my front yard when I see Mark approaching Mrs. Brooks's house 3 doors down with the same manila folder, the elderly widow who lives alone. I couldn't let that slide. I grabbed my phone, walked over, and arrived just as Mark was explaining how her maple tree had fallen and damaged his car. "Hey, Mrs. Brooks," I called out cheerfully. "Mark's about to show you the same fake photos and predated repair estimate he tried to scam me with on Tuesday. The tree he's claiming fell is still standing in my yard, and his car's been damaged for weeks." Mark's face went bright red as I showed Mrs. Brooks the security footage on my phone. "I think you should leave now, Mark," Mrs. Brooks said firmly, "before I call the police." Mark hasn't made eye contact with me since. His Tesla still has those same scratches.